guys, it's Pastor Rachel. I'm doing today's Daily Soap, and we are looking at Psalms 91 through 96. Um, in chapter 92, there is a verse that says, "The godly flourish like palm trees." And I'm sure many of you are incredibly observant, and because of that, you've noticed the palm tree behind me. That verse jumped out at me, partly because I just replanted some of my palm trees yesterday, partly because I love when we see growth compared to plants and nature, because watching a plant grow is probably the easiest demonstration of growth that there is for people to actually visually see and understand. If a plant is growing, you can see that because it gets taller and wider and blossoms. If a plant is not growing, it turns yellow or brown and starts to wither and shrink. It's just, they're so straightforward when it comes to growth in plants, but what's unfortunate is growth in us isn't always as straightforward as it is to visually see a plant grow. A friend of mine shared a quote saying something along the lines of, not everything that grows is healthy, but everything that's healthy grows. And that's kind of what I want to settle on for just a minute. Growth is incredibly important. We understand that to be godly, we must be growing. Godly isn't just a state that we achieve. It is a commitment, a process that we are committed to. When someone is godly, they are on a track and a process moving towards looking more like God. And we understand that there is no final step or arrival at that point, that it is simply a healthy plant is growing, a godly person is growing. There's this chart that breaks down things that I know about myself that others also know, things others know about me that I do not see, things I know about myself that others do not, and then things I do not know and others do not know. And why I bring that up is because self-awareness, emotional intelligence, those things are so incredibly important when we are thinking about growth. So I just want to give you guys a few practical tools for how we can grow. First, in that first category, things I know, things other people know, I bet every single one of us can list off a few things that we have seen in ourselves that are areas that are demanding growth. One specifically for me is just identifying my prejudices and biases about other people and myself, and if I'm better or worse than someone. That is an area that I feel like I am actively pursuing growth, that is painfully aware to me. Other people probably see it too. But another important thing that we can do is we can call our friend and say, "Hey friend, I understand that there are things about me that I do not see in myself. Where are the areas that I need to grow?" And that is a scary question to ask, because if it's an area that I don't see, and I'm not actually looking to hear the answer to that, if I'm not actively pursuing godliness and growth, I don't want to know. So my encouragement, that's probably the hardest of the things that we can do to pursue growth, is to ask the people who know us well where we are flawed and invite them to speak openly and honestly. There are those deep things that we know about ourselves that others might not, which, like I said, there are things about me that I see that are ugly and sinful that most people probably don't even know, that I can either choose to be content with, or I can choose to surrender that to God and say, "Lord, help me to grow in these areas, help me to be more like you." And then there's the last one, the most tricky, things I don't see and others don't see. But what's cool is when we take this chart that was developed not by believers, not through a biblical worldview, and understand that the things in the category that me and other people don't see, God is completely and wholeheartedly aware of. So with that category, we get to say, "Lord, what am I missing? what don't I see, what don't others see, and how can I surrender that to you? And when we are open and honest and willing to hear God in those moments, He shares with us. He is open and honest. Um, he's not going to hurt our feelings and belittle us. He is ready and willing to identify our flaws so that we can look more like Him. So that's my prayer for you guys, is that we understand if we want to flourish like this palm tree, if we want to be godly, we have to be growing, and that looks like identifying our own flaws, inviting others into that space and to speak freely about where we need to grow, and then surrendering, coming humbly to God, saying, what am I missing? What don't I see? And actually listening. And it's not just being aware of the areas where we need to grow, but it's asking God to help us do it. And that is my encouragement for you guys today. Make today important, make today matter, grow in an area where you feel weak. And maybe that's something as simple as, I have noticed that I'm incredibly selfish, or that I'm not willing to be inconvenienced. Ask God for an opportunity to be selfless or to be inconvenienced today. It really just comes down to that. This isn't hard, this isn't complicated, but it is incredibly important. That's all I have for you guys. Love you guys. You're cool. See you in church soon.